Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 116.
One day, I shall come back.
Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we?
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
I have the advantage of being slightly ahead of you. Sometimes behind you, but normally ahead of you.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
A meteor storm and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Just remember who's standing in your way.
Look at the eyebrows. These are attack eyebrows. You can take bottle tops off with these.
We always laugh and smile at that bit, don't we?
We do.
The Matt Smith drunken behaviour.
I think it's because we can both relate to it.
Indeed, yes. But enough about that. Anyways, welcome to episode 116 of the Big Blue Box podcast. Welcome aboard, new listeners and old listeners alike.
And lurkers.
And the lurkers, yes.
I love the lurkers.
You got to love a lurker. A bit like an ood. Love an ood.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I can't speak today. Welcome aboard. We've got a cool show for you today. A little bit light on news, as usual these days. We've got some cool merch, though. Then we're going to give you our rundown very quickly of Class, episode 4. And then we're on to our review of Change, my dear. Old 60.
Yes.
And Attack of the Cybermen. Which is going to be good. Indeed. How you been, mate? Up to anything?
Very good, thank you. Yes, I've been well. Have you?
I've been very well, thank you. Adam and I are recording this on Wednesday, and we've woken up into a world that seems like cybermats have crawled into the White House and into the American public and just gone absolutely berserk.
Yes, so, Trump is in.
Trump is in, yes.
Is the new president, yeah.
It's the start of a new world.
It is. I do feel like we might have somehow slipped into a parallel universe. Just in general this year. This has been a really crazy year, and all together, you know, with stuff going on. But yeah. But there we go.
Yes, it's a strange new world that we're entering into. But fortunately, Adam and I are here to keep the sanity in check.
Yes, and we're not known for our sanity, but I think we're starting to look pretty normal in this world. So yeah, it's all good.
Do you know what I was thinking? In the state of things, we're actually looking pretty normal.
Yeah, we are, which is great. I've been fantastic, mate. I went to the Power of the Daleks premiere last Saturday.
Saw some of your pictures. Yep.
Yes, I'm busy trying to get the vlog edited because I'd like to get it out this week if possible, because it was a fantastic event. I knew it was going to be good, but it was just brilliant. Not just because we got to see Power on the big screen, but also we knew there was going to be some guests there, but we had a few surprise guests.
Okay, and
they were really good surprise guests. So it kicked off with Frank Skinner coming out and doing a little chat before the screening. And as I'm sure our listeners know, Frank Skinner, who played Perkins in A Brilliant Mummy on the Orient Express, he's a big fan of Doctor Who. And so he did a sort of 5-minute stand-up just about Doctor Who. And it was just so clear that he's a fan, because he was picking up on little geeky details that I think only that audience could have roared with laughter at, if you know what I mean. It was just so great. It was just like chatting with a fellow fan.
That's cool.
He was sort of joking about, I mean, the only bit that sticks in my head, because you can never remember these things, is he was saying how much he loves Charlton, but he said, I also really love William Hartnell. He says, I love watching Hartnell because it reminds me of watching a waiter carrying a large tray of drinks, just, you know, with Hartnell you're waiting for him to forget his line, just like you're waiting for the waiter to, so it's balancing everything. And he was just brilliant. So that was a lovely surprise. We got to watch the first 3 episodes, which were great, and I'll chat to you about those in just a second. And then we had a Q&A with Annika Wills, Fraser Hines, and the Mothball was there in the audience. He was sat really close to me, actually, so I could see him
he gets
all the way through.
Doesn't he?
The cheeky bleep.
So and so.
they had a little competition in between the episodes where they were handing out DVDs to the quickest person to answer a question. The cheeky mothball only goes and nabs one of the Blu-rays. I was thinking, you should be exempt. You're not allowed to play. You must get that. You should have that already.
Surely he'd get sent a couple.
I was expecting him to throw it into the audience. No, he kept it. It was the Spearhead from Space Blu-ray one. I can't remember what the question was, but yeah, that was cool. But he actually got up on stage to do part of the Q&A as well. And I've got to say, he was hilarious on Saturday.
Had a few drinks.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know last time I saw him at the class premiere, he'd had a few, but he was on good form. He was really funny. And I managed to catch a little bit of the Q&A on film. I'm not sure how much I can include because I've got a lot of bobbling heads in front of it. And it's what I've managed to get is not that good. But if I've managed to get any of the nuggets that the Moth come out with, I'll be putting them in because he was really on good form. And obviously Annika Wills and Fraser Hines were there, and that was nice. They were chatting about Pat, how welcoming he was and all that sort of thing. Graham Harper was on stage as well, and I've never met him before. He was quite interesting. He didn't get to say a lot, but it was quite a crowded Q&A. So it was a really good event. And then obviously we got to watch the episodes. And how far have you got into them? Because they've now been released online. So have you managed to watch a few?
No, I've not seen any yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was really hoping you might have seen the first few. Okay. No. Well, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. They are good. The people who actually were involved in the making of it were there. They spoke briefly as well with Marquez, who did the soundtrack. And they were basically what came across. The thing that sticks in my mind is that they were only given a very limited time to do this. I think they said 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And they said, that might sound a long time to you, but believe me, to do 6 episodes and get everything ready, we were really, really pushed. We literally didn't eat or sleep. It was just, it was a hard task to get this ready for the anniversary. So he said, so that's why, it may not be as good as we would have liked, but we hope it's as good, as it could be in that time frame, given the budget we were given. And they're obviously really proud of it, but you did get the feeling they, would love to just have had a few more months just to tweak things, because I think already fans have spotted there's like the odd tiny little error here and there. There's a bit where Polly's finger appears for like a split frame, away from a hand, and little bits like that fans have picked up on that they would just love to go back and just sort out, correct and make it good. There's a few sort of bits. I mean, the animation is good. It's a little bit ever so clunky in places, and again, I think they would have given more time, would have made it more fluid. But it works brilliantly with the audio. It almost suits the time period. Actually, I think that's one thing they said. It's almost like how the show was made originally. It was on such a sort of quick turnaround that, in that sense, it's quite authentic. So yeah. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts when you do see it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've downloaded it from the BBC Store. I'm on episode 4 at the minute. I think 5 will be out today, although that'll be. Hang on, where are we? By the time the podcast's out, it'll all be out, won't it?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think you'll enjoy it, mate. It's just fantastic. It was so nice to hear. Like I was saying I met with Adam, the Ultimate Whovian, for the premiere. It was so nice to hear Pat and the team getting laughs. This is something that was made in the 60s, and it's still entertaining people. Like there was just a bit where he goes fruit, and it's just the way he says it. It's like it's not even a funny line, but because it's Pat, the way he delivers it, even just watching it in animation, just got a massive laugh. And it's just great just to sit there, just see people absolutely loving it, and being able to finally see the power of the Daleks in some sort of complete form. So great event. Loved it. Yeah,
it is awesome. And I did debate whether to start watching it at the BBC Store. And I thought, because I had it in my head that when they were going to release each one online, I was going to purchase it and watch it as you go along. And then I thought, do you know what? No, I'm going to wait and watch it all together.
Oh, yeah.
So I might still purchase them from the store, because I've cancelled my my DVD pre-order because the really cool Blu-ray. I've actually cancelled 2 pre-orders now. We'll come on to it in the merch section, but so I might actually purchase them all together from the store before then, because the Blu-ray's not out till when is it? Feb next year.
Feb, it's slated in for, yeah.
Yeah, so I probably can't wait that long, but I might just wait till they're all out and then binge watch them.
Yeah.
one day. Yeah.
That sounds like a plan. Yeah. Interesting that they were saying, because obviously there's going to be a colour version of it, isn't there? And they're actually, that's been done by a different team.
That's right.
Apparently, which is kind of all been taken out of their hands and been done by someone else. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, I think. But
it's good.
It was good.
Yeah, it's a good event though. Sounds like it was really interesting.
It was,
as well as
It
entertaining.
was thoroughly interesting. Yeah, it was really good. I met Mark Ayres, who does all the sound.
Oh yes, yep.
Design as well. He's a really nice chap actually, and I didn't notice it when we were watching the first episode. One thing that struck me was how great the sound was. I thought the soundtrack sounded brilliant in the theatre. But after episode 1, Mark Ayres came out looking really flustered, and he was going bonkers because the 5.1 wasn't working. And he was like, I don't know what's going on. You're hearing it in a mono track, and I'm trying to get this sorted for you guys. He was really tearing his hair out, poor guy. And they never managed to fix it. So to his trained ear, it wasn't right. You know, we were just hearing a mono track, but to me, it sounded fantastic. So goodness knows what the 5.1 would have sounded like, because I thought it sounded great. And apparently the audio is taken from a TV recording, which I cannot believe, given how good a job they've done like remastering it. Like they were saying, you know, this is because obviously it was junked by the BBC. The audio that they've used, it's the best copy they've got. I think he said they've got 3 copies and this is the best one or something.
Right.
It was recorded off a TV back in the day, back when it aired. I mean, it's just incredible what they can do. You know, with technology now, because believe me, it sounded fantastic.
They got some good tools at the Beeb.
Well, he's the man, isn't he, Mark Ayres? He's done a lot of Doctor Who stuff, and he's a clever guy. So yeah, he's worked his magic on it. Yeah, but yeah, I can't wait for you to see it. As you can probably tell, I'm just so excited by it, and I'm absolutely loving seeing fandom embracing it as well. Like, not just not just the older fans like myself that have been watching the show since it's been on TV and stuff, but also the younger fans that have come on board with the new series. I've seen so many people tweeting about it, saying how excited they are, and it's just great to see fandom excited about something and really positive about something. It's great.
It's great. That's one of the things that I'm loving as well, is seeing fans, new and old, young and old, all the rest of it, really getting into a classic story, which you don't really see. Well, we haven't really seen that much in over the years, have we? Especially, there's no. I'm not pigeonholing anybody, but especially for some of the younger fans, they tend to shy away from classic Who because it's all rubbish sets and.
Some do. Yeah,
he wouldn't watch it in Who watches black and white stuff? But yeah, so it's great to see. Like you say, a lot of the fandom embrace it, and
I think this hiatus has done that as well. Actually, I reckon a lot of those fans might have in boredom gone out and seen these nice covers in HMV of the classic series and thought, oh, I'll give that one a go, and hopefully really liked it and got into the classic. So yeah, it is good to see. Yeah,
indeed. Yeah.
So what have you been up to, mate? I know you couldn't make the premiere. I text Gary was it the day before? They suddenly released some tickets, didn't they? Like which is quite annoying actually, because my seat, as you know, I managed to grab just one seat right at the side. I was literally against the wall. I didn't have the best seat, although I was quite near the front. But yeah, on the day they released a few more tickets, and I messaged you to say, Gary, quick, there's more tickets, but you couldn't go. So I then messaged Adam, the Ultimate Whovian, said, Ad, they've got tickets if you want to go. And he nabbed one, and he got a really good seat right in the middle of the I think he did anyway, right in the middle of the theatre looking straight out. I was a bit jealous. It's like, I was there at 9 o'clock on the day and I'm against the wall, but I just to be there was amazing. But yeah, you couldn't make it, unfortunately, could you, buddy? Which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, that is a real shame, because after I couldn't get tickets, left it a few days and made plans for that weekend, and then as Sod's Law would have it,
it was the day before, wasn't it? I'm sure it was like the Friday or something. They just suddenly, I guess it was returns or whatever. I don't know.
Gutted, but well, I've not been up to too much, to be honest with you. I've just sat in front of the TV most of the week. Watched our review episode, of course.
Yes.
Attack. Also, as I normally do when it's Classic Week, I always stick on another Classic Who because it gets me in the mood. And I stuck on The Visitation.
Oh, yes.
One of our old faves.
Yeah. Were you laughing at the plague?
Big.
The Plague Man. What is his name? It's Michael Robbins is the actor, isn't it? But what's his name in it?
I can never remember his
we
character's name.
never remember names, do we? No,
Which will surprise all of you that we can never remember his name. Yeah, so always enjoy watching that one.
Yes.
I got their newsletter back up and running, so...
I noticed, yeah.
Yeah, so the technical gremlins have been dispersed. Mm-hmm. So if you're a subscriber to our weekly newsletter, you should be getting that through as per normal now. Yeah. And if you don't sign up, just go and do that.
Yeah.
Yes, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk/subscribe. Mm-hmm. And you'll get one of our quirky little minimal email newsletters into your inbox. I still don't know what day it goes out. I think it goes out on a Monday, Tuesday. Monday. I think it's a Monday or Tuesday, one of the two.
Yeah, I guess I saw it pop up in my email. I think it was Tuesday, actually. I think I was at work. So, yeah.
I've also been watching. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit stuff.
Are you? I didn't know that.
Yes, and one of those days where you're in the mood to watch something cool, but you don't want to sit through an entire movie or whatever.
Well, especially not them, because they're about 4 hours long each.
Well, that's precisely it. I've got the extended versions of them.
Oh.
And I think The Hobbit, it's like 3 and a bit hours long.
Oh, my goodness.
But what I hadn't watched yet are all the special features and stuff like that. And so I stuck on the first disc, and it's like 4.5 hours worth of special features. I think they're called the appendices. And they had a section on there about Sylvester McCoy, because he plays Radagast the Brown, the wizard.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting section on there. And I completely forgot that he was in it, because I'd only seen it at the cinema and I hadn't watched the Blu-rays yet. And he got to this section and he's so funny. You can see all the cast members just sort of looking at each other. When he comes onto the set in his costume and stuff, everyone's chatting to him and he's just walking past them all. He's not paying attention to what's going on. He just trips over as he goes up onto the little set that he's in. And one of the crew members is like, has everybody met Sylvester? And he just turns around and he's like, hello everybody, in his crazy self. And as soon as I watched that section, I was like, I've got to watch some McCoy now. I've got to watch some McCoy. So it's great.
Yeah.
So on went The Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
Oh, right. Excellent.
It's just a great McCoy story, that one. But really in McCoy mode, whenever I see him, like convention clips, or I see him in something that's not, necessarily Doctor Who, he's just such a cool guy.
He is. He's good at conventions. He always goes, he's not one to just sit down and chat. He always goes out with his microphone and talks to the audience and stuff. He's quite a character, McCoy. I'd forgotten he was in that until you just mentioned it. Actually, the Hobbit or whatever it was. Because I have seen them all. I can't say I'm a fan, because I just find them a bit hard going. But I do watch them at the cinema because they're quite epic. I like Gollum.
You like Gollum?
I always just sit there waiting for him to come on the screen. Like, when's Gollum coming into it? Hello, precious.
Nothing else for it. Oh, I did manage to get over to the Who shop.
Oh, did you?
At the weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
Had some more fun and games with...
you didn't try taking a photo, I hope.
With Mrs... No, it wasn't me. It was somebody else getting a good old...
right. The roasting.
And I said to my wife before we went in there, I said, right, let's take a bet, shall we? A £5 on somebody getting a good old telling off.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, it's not that bad. So I comfortably walked out of there with a £5. Which is good. It was just one of those typical the person, they must have been a Who shop newbie.
Yeah,
because the first thing they did when they walked through the doors, get their phone out.
Yeah, and what was the response?
She was the woman who owned it. Bless her. She hurdled over that counter at the speed of light. She was right over there. No, absolutely not. And this poor girl, she looked like she'd been back, looked like she was back at school, getting a good old telling off by the headmistress.
No photos.
Absolutely not. But I picked up some stuff there, though. I got a couple of T-shirts. I got this book. I think you've got it, mate. It's called the Doctor Who Graphica book. It's like a
it's a bizarre book. Yeah,
it looks cool. We saw it in Forbidden Planet, didn't we, a few weeks back? So I picked that up because it was quite cheap in there, which is usual because the markup is sometimes quite high in there, but this was all right, actually. I got a new sonic screwdriver bottle opener.
Oh, wow.
Because I couldn't find our one in the house. So I've now got a 11th Doctor sonic bottle opener, which is really cool. And I picked up a couple of little figures to go on the shelf as well, just the little, very small toy ones. I've got the Vashta Narada figure to go with the Ood and the Pyrovile figure.
Yeah, I know the ones you mean, those little funny shaped things.
Yes, and a couple of other bits that my memory escapes me now. But yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing you did get from there. I saw you post it on Instagram, was the Poppy TARDIS pin, which I thought was gorgeous. Yeah, really nice little thing to have that.
Yeah, that was really... I didn't even see it, actually.
I assume it was from there, was it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even see it or pay for it. It was my wife that saw it at the counter when she was paying for her stuff. And she just came over. She was like, I've got this. And I was blown away. It's really nice little...
Lovely. Yeah. Really nice little unusual thing to have. Yeah.
So that was cool. A little trip to the Who shop.
Did they have the Malice? I bet you forgot to look for me. They didn't have it.
I did look. They don't have it. No. I looked in both.
Get the Malice.
I looked in both cabinets. They just don't have the Malice anymore. I was really close to buying another Robert Harrop figure. I was really tempted to get the Sutek figure.
Oh, yeah, he looks good.
But I'm assuming the only ones they have are the ones out in the cabinet. And and he had like a little nick on his shoulder. So I didn't want to get that because they obviously were charging full price. So.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's always fun and games going out to the Who shop. Once again, I'd like to caveat my previous comments by saying that it is a very good shop. It's a great shop. Yes, I don't want to put anyone off going there just because they have some kind of they've had a referendum there about photographic policies and all the rest of it. It's great. Just be wary of walking in with your phone out.
That's it.
And stuff like that, but it's cool.
Yeah, good shop.
So another exciting week for us too, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. I think divorce are on the cards for me.
Oh yeah.
Quite seriously, my partner is getting really fed up by saying, what are we doing this weekend? And me saying, I've got a Doctor Who thing on this weekend. Because it doesn't stop there, because this coming weekend, I'm going to London again because Noel Clarke, a.k.a. Mickey, is doing a signing in FP. Yes. So I'm going to go to that. And as if that wasn't enough, the one person that I have is like right at the top of my list of people I'd love to meet is doing a signing at Westminster, which isn't that far from FP. I'll be blitzing on the old tube. And that person is Bernard Cribbins.
Oh.
So I'm really hoping this Saturday I get to meet Noel and Bernard on the same day, which will be immense. So the roller coaster just keeps going, mate.
It does. It never ends.
It never ends.
Right, that's what we've been up to. We hope you guys have had a good week as well. Always try and find something to do.
Yeah.
With our Time Lord friend. Even if it's just sticking on something, an old classic, or digging out the box sets, or a big finish. I don't know about you, but I have to have something Doctor Who going on throughout the week.
Definitely. I get quite depressed actually when we get, because I've got a feeling in December there'll be nothing. I've got lots going on the next 2 weekends. And then I've got a feeling it'll be Christmas and that'll be it. And you get withdrawals, don't you?
So, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we've got DVDs to keep us company.
Right. Shall we land this puppy?
Yes.
Start doing some news.
Okay.
Just one bit of news this week, and it's very sad.
It is. It's heartbreaking.
Extremely sad. So the Doctor Who experience is to close next summer. Yes, BBC Worldwide have confirmed that the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff is to be shut down and destroyed. Well,
I think they're just put into storage, but
yeah, it's a bit extreme. But so the lease on the building, which was a 5-year lease, apparently, is up this summer. this summer coming 2017, and there are no plans to renew that lease. So as a result, the experience is soon to be no more.
It is sad. I saw this come up on Twitter and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, no, surely not, because even if it moves somewhere else, even if they move it back to London or wherever, that it feels like its natural home being on the Cardiff Bay, because it's like a stone's throw from where they actually film the show. So they obviously sometimes throw in the TARDIS set tour when they're not filming, so it's like right next door to the actual studio with the TARDIS setting. So I'm gutted, genuinely gutted, because even though I've been, me and you are always saying, well, they're changing it, they're putting new stuff in, they're always keeping it fresh. And we're always talking about going back, aren't we? So I'm just thinking, well, better get down there, because when does it actually close? Is it summer next year?
Yeah, it doesn't say exactly. It just says summer 2017. So we're thinking, July, August time at the latest. And it's extremely sad for a couple of reasons. One, like you say, its natural home is Cardiff. The company that runs the experience, which I think is linked to BBC Worldwide, have said that there are no plans to relocate it anywhere. So all of the stuff we assume is just going to go into some container somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But also, it's a massive tourist pool for Cardiff. One of the cool... Well, if you speak to anyone that's going on a trip to Cardiff, especially, Who fans, but just, fans of sci-fi in general, one of the things that's always on the list to do is the Doctor Who experience. And it's just such a great... I mean, we've, gone on about this a few times in the past, that it really is a great place to just get lost in for, a good few hours. And it's a purpose, the building itself is built for the experience, so it's catered for it. It's, it's just heartbreaking, to read that it's going to close, especially as we're going into a new era of Doctor Who. So once we get series, after the Christmas special, what is it next year? Series 10?
10.
The Moff's last one, yeah. So there's bound to be a load of new stuff coming out of Series 10, but, quite exciting after that is all the new era stuff that we're going to get from the Chibnall era. So you would expect them to be quite excited about adding new stuff and changing it and updating it and so on. But, yeah, it's... they obviously feel that it's not... Maybe it's a financial thing, I don't know. But I think they did have a lot of help from Cardiff Council. They actually, like I said, they put that building up especially for it, and they leased it, I'm assuming, at a bit of a discount, because it would rake in so much tourism for the city. But yeah, don't know if it's a financial thing, or I don't know what they're going to put in its place. Who knows? But
we don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of ins and outs of why. I mean, it could be, that somebody's offered money for that plot of land and it's more than they can afford to renew the lease. There could be loads of reasons, but it is a shame. And, you're saying about putting stuff into storage. I just keep thinking about, for example, the Fourth Doctor's console was added recently, wasn't it? And they'd really carefully spent time, mending it and restoring it. And I just think, what a shame. All this hard work that's gone into, restoring these lovely props, that some of them, I mean, you look at the Yeti costume, for example, how long has that been in storage? And they've carefully, restored it the best they can. And it's just such a shame to think of them just going back into storage, But I hope we haven't seen the last of it. It is a fantastic place to go. If anyone listening hasn't been and you get the chance, please do go, because like you said, for Doctor Who fans, I could spend the whole day in there. Literally, I could just walk round it and round it, and it's just a Doctor Who fan's dream, I think.
Oh yeah, of course.
So I hopefully, I hope it does find a new home. I really do. Even though it's quite far for me and you to go, I sort of want it to stay in Cardiff. I feel that's its natural home, or Wales, or somewhere there. But wherever it goes, I hope it survives.
Yes, and
it is good.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you said there. We've every time that we talk about it on the show, we do say, if you haven't been to it yet, then absolutely try and go. But this is even more important now. If you haven't been to it, don't leave it, because it will fly round before you know it. Will be mid next year, and I don't want to see loads of tweets and Facebook messages saying, I should have gone, it's now closed, so get your asses over there. There is a petition, though. Lastly, there is an online petition that's been set up, which is obviously titled Save Cardiff's Doctor Who Experience. They need 6,000 signatures, and they're up to 5,035. So if you get over there and pop your name down, then that might help in a way. Maybe. So if you just go to, if you just do a search for Save Cardiff's Doctor Who Experience petition, you'll see it on there. I think it's the only one on there at the minute at the 38 Degrees website, and there's a Twitter account as well. But that might help. Sometimes these things sort of fall on deaf ears, but hopefully get your name on there, get enough signatures, it might help.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's all the news we have. Some merch. Some merch is waiting on the other side of the door with those bloody Daleks.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
First bit of merch is absolutely awesome.
This is very pretty, isn't it? To quote the 10th Doctor.
It is very pretty, yes.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about the power of the Daleks a lot recently, and we were speaking over the last couple of weeks about how we were very distraught that there was no Blu-ray announced, because this absolutely should be in high definition.
Definitely.
And they did say that the Blu-ray would finally come a bit later than a DVD, but it'd be with us in February. So I cancelled my DVD pre-order and pre-ordered the Blu-ray off Amazon, which is all fine and dandy. And then I think I might have seen your tweet actually, mate.
Yes, I was hot off the press on this one.
Yeah, and they've released, they're going to release a special edition steelbook, which looks absolutely just amazing. The artwork on it is really, really good. So
what's the artist's name? I know you often tweet him and stuff. What's his name?
Will Brooks.
Oh, it's not who I was thinking of. I thought it was someone else.
I'm sure it's Will Brooks, yeah.
I was thinking it was, the guy who did all the 9th Doctor posters. I thought it was him.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry, no, it's not Will Brooks, sorry. That's a complete mistake. His name's Stuart Manning.
That's the man, yes.
Stuart Manning, yes. And he's done this really nice, almost retro style looking design and stuff, which is really nice. Like a really shouty, sort of purpley colour with peaches in there as well. It looks really, really good. So I cancelled my second pre-order for that Blu-ray and have now pre-ordered this one. So I'm hoping that they don't now announce some other special edition thingy that's got some thing with it, like the soundtrack special edition bundled with it and all that stuff. But I know you've pre-ordered this as well, buddy.
I have, yeah. I was just, as soon as I saw this, I was like, is this genuine? Is this real? Because it is beautiful. I think it's lovely. I love the fact that they're getting so behind this release. Yeah. I think there would have been a lot of pre-orders for the DVD cancelled the day that this was announced. Yeah. I bet Amazon were wondering what on earth was going on. Because, no offense, I mean, the DVD's all well and dandy, but this is just something else. It looks great. Yeah. You do get a DVD with it, don't you? So it's Blu-ray and DVD in a steelbook, which comes with the black and white version and the color version. So it's just a must-have release. I think it's fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think hopefully the release date doesn't go back. I think it's scheduled for February next year.
That's right.
I'm looking forward to getting this. Price-wise, it's about, I think it was £22.99 when I ordered it, which could go up, could go down. That's the current sort of rough price for it. But I noticed a few other stores have started getting it. So I wondered if this was an Amazon exclusive to begin with, a bit like the Series 9 one, but I don't think it is. I think like Zavvi and other stores have started to get it as well. So it'd be worth just having a look around, see which, to find the best price. But it seems to be around about the sort of £22 mark, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
around 20, just over 20 quid, which is fairly good for a double pack. So you're essentially getting three versions of it: the DVD, and then the black and white and the color versions in high def. So, but the artwork is worth it for the artwork alone. It's going to look really nice, something different, Yeah. The Power of the Daleks, the special edition steelbook. You can get it off Amazon.
And it hasn't been confirmed yet, but somebody did tell me, last week we were upset that the surviving footage was going to be a BBC store only. We were saying, oh, well, that should be on the DVD. I have seen a few tweets in that saying that's now going to be included, but it hasn't been confirmed, but I hope so. So I'm hoping we get everything on it because, yeah, that would be good. Right. In other merch news, it's getting to that time of year when we put calendars, we get next year's calendar ready. And there's quite a lot of Doctor Who ones out there already. I was in a shopping centre only a few days ago and I managed to find 4 variations of Doctor Who calendars and I picked one up, which was really nice. But this one that I'm talking about today is something a little bit special, actually. And I am definitely going to get this. It's by Who Dares is the company. It's Andrew Scaletta. I think I'm saying that right. Target Art Calendar.
Yes.
And basically what this is, it's a calendar for next year and it features the artwork of Andrew Scaletta. And these are like the classic series novelization covers, which for anyone that's seen them will tell you are gorgeous. I mean, they sometimes look, sometimes haven't quite got the face right or whatever, but it kind of adds to the charm. There is something really, really nice about these particular covers. So it's a great calendar. This it features pictures from the covers of Warriors of the Deep, The Invasion, Twin Dilemma, unpublished version. It says Mind of Evil, Frontius, Nightmare of Eden, The Two Doctors, Legopolis, The Daemons. Is that what you said? Daemons, yeah.
Yep.
Unearthly Child. So there's loads of original covers in this calendar. I love it. I haven't pre-ordered this yet, but I'm definitely going to get this. I don't know about you.
It looks awesome, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
And there's something about the Target covers that, I don't know, they just big. Just because the artwork just looks so of its time. It's got such a lovely charm about it. It's not like it's not definitely not a modern look that you would see for any of the new calendars or any DVD covers or anything like that. It's got such a lovely old style feel to it. It's just they're so nice to look at as well. The Yeti one looks really good, even though it doesn't look exactly like the Yeti from the program. Exactly, it looks great. But there's a lovely one of the TARDIS, which I'm assuming is in the it looks like it's just in an old alleyway, surrounded by other bits and bobs. It might be Totter's Lane, I'm not sure, but it looks really nice.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, I think it's the Unearthly Child cover. So it's an A3 size. I think the retail price for it is $19.95, and you can get it from the Who Dares website, which is www.who. What do you call that middle
hyphen?
Is it just hyphen? Mm-hmm. who-dares.co.uk. It's well worth having a look at. I'm going to pre-order this for sure. Bizarrely, actually, I've just because this company's been around for a while. Actually, Who Dares, and bizarrely, I just got one off eBay from years ago. I'm trying to think which year it is now. But it's a very similar thing that came out about 20 odd years ago. And it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous from the same company. So they've obviously been around for a while.
They have been
I think
around,
it's the 25th anniversary one I've just got. I should know. I saw it cheap on eBay and I mainly bought it because of the beautiful pictures. But I think when I opened it yesterday, it's the 25th anniversary calendar. So yeah, really nice stuff.
Excellent. I think we're going to do there for merch.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to spend just a few minutes with our ongoing class review. So we're going to talk about episode 4, is it? Yes,
4, yeah.
4.
What's it?
Co-owner of a Lonely Heart.
Right.
The science has failed. You have made things worse.
Your Majesty, I have not yet finished.
Yes, you have. Our heart is strong.
My heart is strong.
It fights back like mine used to.
It fights back. It always has.
April, don't!
Why not? He tried to take his life and ours with it. Why shouldn't I finish the job?
Because that's not what April would do. Majesty, please, if you would only let me.
You have no idea what I would do. You have no idea what I'm capable of.
I know exactly what you're capable of. But you are April because you choose not to do it. You told me you wouldn't let him break you.
And I won't. I'll break him instead. April, no, please. Don't do this.
Very intense stuff this week.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Right. Episode 4. I will say that I enjoyed parts of this one slightly more than I have done up to now. I thought this was a better character story than the one we had with Ram. I thought April had some pretty good acting chops on her, actually. There was a few moments where she was really going for it. Didn't hold back. And I quite like the to-in and throw-in between what she was doing and the Shadow King was doing, where that sort of they mirrored each other. That was quite clever. Overall, it's still it's a negative. It's still not really grabbing me, as I'd like it to. I was hoping that with this episode having a different director than we've had in the first 3, I thought it would maybe change things up slightly and we'd get a slightly different looking episode and so on. But no, it's very typically, it just seems it's par for the course with Class. Yeah. So I just wanted to get that out there. What do you reckon, mate, on this one?
I thought it was absolutely dreadful.
Right.
Appalling. I can't. I'm almost lost. I thought it was just awful. I was just sat there, just the bits that were supposed to be dramatic, like that clip you were playing at. I thought the acting was so atrocious. I was just laughing at it. No, I'm sorry. I thought it was awful. The whole. I've just got very little positive to say about this, I'm afraid, because I've been kind of going along with Class up to this point, and I think I've been trying to be very positive, and I enjoyed episode 1. I kind of liked episode 2. I thought episode 3 had potential, but this just I was bored. I thought the acting was awful. I thought the sex scenes between the aliens or the Shadowkin being mirrored with the humans and the dialogue was absolutely atrocious.
It was, to be fair.
Yeah. I just honestly, I'm sorry. No, I'm not even going to apologize for being negative because I genuinely felt it was dreadful. So that's what I thought of it.
No, I'm feeling it. I think, like I said, there was moments that I quite liked in it. I thought the actress, I can't remember who plays April now.
Sophie.
Yeah, I think she had a couple of really good scenes. I thought she would really put herself into it. You could tell that she wasn't, holding back in any way. However, yeah, like you, mate, I do feel that overall it's just not really hitting the mark like we were hoping it would do. And it's also another episode where within the first few minutes you feel that it's going to be a pretty good story and a pretty good episode, but then it doesn't get going. Like we said last week, it's missing that extra couple of gears getting going,
Well, I thought maybe because it's a 2-parter, they were sort of trying to, let scenes breathe perhaps with it, But yeah, it was pretty slow. I thought there was times when literally nothing was happening.
Yeah, and Miss Quill wasn't that great. She had a quite quiet episode this one, didn't she?
I normally like Miss Quill.
Yeah.
She normally manages to get me through an episode, even if I'm not enjoying it. But even she looked bored this week.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She was still the best thing in it for me. I'm still liking Miss Quill. To be fair, who's this new head mistress?
Yes,
or whatever that's come into, because Mr. Armitage, they finally remembered he's dead, so they got this new woman come in. Is she an alien?
Well, I assume so, because she's aware of what's going on with the rift in time and space, because apparently a petal has fallen through, which is now multiplying at an alarming rate and biting people. So I assume
Killer
she is.
Petals.
Yeah, I assumed that she is. And just a very sort of tenuous link, she starred alongside Christopher Eccleston in the programme The A Word? The letter? No, hold on. The A. What was that programme about autism that was on a few months back?
It was The A Word, I think.
The A Word, yeah.
Yeah.
So Chris Eccleston, Doctor Who, she's now in Class. Yeah, it all makes sense. But yeah, she's very... mysterious at the moment. We don't know where she's from, who she is, why she's suddenly the headmistress of Coal Hill School. But yeah.
But Miss Quill was not fooled for a minute, though, was she? She, Miss Quill instantly recognised that something's not quite right with her. I just the thing is, last week, although I found the story quite slow, I did say that the acting was good because I felt it was. I thought the guy playing the dad was good. I thought the actual cast were really good. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel that at all this week. I just felt it was a real step back. And to me, episode 1 of Class, I remember saying I like this world that had been created. I love this little gang of characters. I thought they were good, and I instantly sort of warmed to them. Mm-hmm. Where I'm at now with Class is that I feel that world's just falling apart around me. We've got this blimmin' crack in the school that just every week just lets something different through. The characters are all becoming shouty and, to be quite frank, unlikable. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. So to me, I'm starting to. I mean, I will keep watching this because I do. Don't get me wrong, I do like elements of it. But for me, this episode just started to feel tired, and it's only episode 4, and I'm already starting to dislike some of the characters and just find it a really tired format. Like every time I see that crack in the school, I'm just like, oh. It feels too contained, and I don't know. It's a shame actually, because I was so on board with this when it started. But yeah, this episode just didn't do a lot for me in terms of that. And funnily enough, I've spoken to a couple of people because, again, I've seen a lot of positive reaction to this online. A lot of fans have thought it was brilliant, which is great. I'm glad they're enjoying it. But I've also spoke to some fans that, friends actually, not just fans that want to be negative, but I spoke to some friends that was like, do you know what? This is the episode. I actually switched off halfway through. I had one person say that, and also another one who's a good friend of ours said he's done. He's done with the series. He just thought this episode was so bad that he just can't be doing with it. And although I'm not at that point, I can appreciate why they've said what they've said. So
yeah, I had the same thing, mate. I had a couple of people message me on Facebook. And one of our particular buddies did say, "I think I'm done with Glass now."
But okay, let's. What was going on with that sex scene between the two Shadowkin?
Well,
I mean, it was absolutely.
I think it boils down to
so awkward.
It swings both ways. But, she's feeling some of the anger and all the stuff from him, which is why she attacks her dad, and she's quite feisty and stuff. But then I think it swings both ways. I think he was feeling some of the emotion that she was going through with Ram. So I think that was what it boils down to. But yeah, it was quite crappy to watch. It wasn't done particularly well, and the dialogue was shockingly bad.
The dialogue, to be honest with you, that's my biggest thing with this week's episode is how bad the dialogue was. I thought, but also we keep getting elements added in. Like last week, we had the robot. Was it last week or the week before? We had the robot teacher at the back of the room, or inspector.
The inspector,
to be. Now we haven't come back to that yet. No. I don't know if we're going to, or if that was just thrown in to pad the episode.
Yeah,
this week
sure.
we got these killer petals that are sort of another sub storyline that's just sort of there, and it looks from next week's trailer, it looks like that's all going to kick off. But we sort of keep getting these things thrown in, but they don't seem to gel with the rest of the story. It almost feels like very clunky.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's it needs to. I'm not saying it needs to, because there's obviously a lot of people that really like it, so that's great. So it's wrong to say that it needs to change this and it needs to do that, because it's hitting the mark with people, which is great. I was just hoping that it would be a bit more varied and not so contained, and a bit more, pushing the boundary a little bit, because at the moment it really is living up to my initial fears before it went live, and that was it's just it's just generic sci-fi. It just happens to be set in the universe of Doctor Who. So I was just hoping it would push things a bit more, because it's got the perfect opportunity to do that. It's an adult show. It's obviously not shackled too much by the main Doctor Who show. It's doing its own thing pretty much. It's BBC 3 online. It doesn't have to conform to, a pre-watershed or a watershed thing. You can watch it anytime. So they've got the perfect opportunity to really push things and try new things out, but it just seems too generic at the minute.
Well, we'll see where we go with episode 2, but yeah, for me, this didn't work. I'm as I said, I know there was a lot of positive reaction out there. I am pleased that fans are enjoying it. And again, I'm kind of sat on that fence again now, just watching them wander off, wondering what I'm missing, because I really didn't enjoy it. Have you got anything else to say on it before we score it?
No, not really. There isn't really much else to say. It's I'll
be honest. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to bore our listeners anymore. But
go on, what's your...
What would you? Well, I'd give it a 3 out of 10.
A 3. I'd give it a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I liked April, Sophie Hopkins. I thought she was pretty good in it, but fairly lackluster everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope next week's is better. I'm liking the look of the world that they jumped through at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I am hoping that I'll enjoy this week's or next week's? This week's a little bit more.
This week's, episode 5 it'll be, won't it?
That's it, yeah.
Yes, which is, what's episode 5 going to be called? It's Braveheart, Strongheart or something. One of
Braveheart Egan.
Yeah. So yes, we will wait to see what that one pulls out the bag. But still send us your thoughts in class. Be interested to see what you guys think, because we're obviously not seeing some of the stuff that people that love it are seeing. But there we go. Right, on to our main review then.
Yeah.
So change, my dear. From the looks of things, not a moment too soon. What are we doing this week, buddy?
Well, that must be Colin Baker. Sixth Doctor story, Attack of the Cybermen.
Destroy her. Destroy her at once!
Wait! Let's discuss this, shall we?
I agree.
There is nothing to discuss.
If you want my cooperation, she must live.
We cannot agree to bargain, Doctor. It would be unfortunate if you were to be killed, but we should still have your TARDIS.
Not anymore, you don't. In precisely 20 seconds, you and it will cease to exist.
Release the woman.
How do I know you won't cheat and change your mind?
You have my word.
I'm not sure that's enough.
Also, that of the cyber controller.
Well, he was destroyed.
No, nearly damaged.
Where is he now?
On our home planet, Telos.
I see.
Doctor!
What the old lovely sound effects there from the 80s.
Yeah.
Right, Attack of the Cybermen then. This was a 2-parter back in January 1985.
Yeah, kickstarted Colin's first proper series, didn't it? Because bizarrely, we got the Twin Dilemma at the end of Peter's series.
Yeah.
And so this was like the first episode in Colin's run.
His first proper one, yeah. And they were 2 episodes of 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
Which I actually quite like. I quite like that. Obviously, depending on the story, as long as the story keeps you entertained. I thought that's pretty good. Directed by Matthew Robinson and written by Paula Moore, which is actually Paula Wolseley. Overseen by Eric Saywood.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I always in my head, I always think Eric Saywood wrote this story. For some reason. Well, I think isn't that there's a lot of confusion actually, isn't there? Which has never ever been ironed out over time over who actually wrote this. Because Paula, who's the person credit on screen? Paula Moore, isn't it?
Paula Moore, yeah.
Paula Moore, who's really called Paula Wolseley, is the author. Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis are the creators of Cybermen. Eric Saywood kind of put his bit in
Stamp
now and
on
again, padded it out and wrote quite a lot of it, I think. And also Ian Levine. Be funny if John Levine was involved as well, but Ian Levine also has taken credit for a lot of the story over the years as well. And I don't think any of them can quite agree on who actually wrote what. So it seems like there was a lot of fingers in a lot of pies in when it comes to the writing of this one.
Indeed, yeah.
We'll never know, I don't think. It also caused a lot of problems, I think, when they tried to release it on video, or maybe I can't remember now, because of all this confusion over who wrote it. But yeah,
it sounds like it was a a convoluted team effort.
Yeah.
And like you say, nobody can decide really who should get proper credit for it. But it was a bunch of people wrote it, essentially. But
a brainstorming session.
Yeah, but it was officially credited as Paula Moore, a.k.a. Paula Wolseley. Yes, so the plot for this one is fairly simplish. The Doctor is fresh off of his fairly wacky regeneration, in which he tried to strangle poor old Perry in the previous story. So he's fresh from that sort of crazy initial regeneration, and Perry is still a little bit you're not right, you need to take it easy and stuff. He's having none of it, trying to repair the chameleon circuit on the TARDIS, which has hilarious results. And they end up landing in the junkyard,
Totters Lane.
Totters Lane.
Yeah.
And they get wrapped up in this ongoing story where the Cybermen are in the underground tunnels, who are plotting to take over the Earth. And as a sub-story, we have the guys on Telos, who are sort of part converted into Cybermen. They're hatching a plan to escape from the planet and destroy the Cybermen there as well. And the Doctor and Perry just sort of get caught up in it, and we also get the lovely on-screen actions of the other alien race in this, which is the Cryons. The Cryons, yes. And as I understand it, the Cryons, their home planet of Mondas.
No, I thought they were. I thought they were Telos. Aren't they the people who were on Telos before the Cybermen?
Oh, sorry, yeah, my mistake.
Took over.
Yeah. So the Cybermen, their original homeworld, Mondas, was destroyed, and then they took over Telos, forcing the Cryons to do the off.
That's it.
Or going to hiding.
Yeah.
Attack of the Cybermen. It's we don't really speak that highly of Colin, and at certain occasions, do we? A lot of his stories can be a little bit
grim.
A little bit grim, to say the least. It's not to say that we're not fans of Colin. We do like. We
love
Colin.
him on Big Finish.
Oh, on Big Finish, he's amazing. Yeah. So we do like Colin. He's often referred to as one of the, it's quite ironic that I'm going to talk about lists now, because Colin Baker absolutely hates lists, but he doesn't often appear in the top half of people's lists when we're talking about favourite eras of Doctor Who, favourite Doctors, favourite classic stories, and so on. But having said that, I think this one is a really good story, considering some of the other stories of his era are quite a bit weaker.
Yeah.
And it does feel like a proper classic Doctor Who story as well. It's got some great sort of basic sets, real basic effects, and stuff like that. There are a couple of niggles that I've got with it, but overall, I think it's a good classic story, and I actually quite like Colin in this one. I think he gives a really good performance. What do you think, mate? Overall,
it's funny because I have to be in the right mood for a Colin episode. He's not like some of the other Doctors where I can just put him on and I don't know. He's always harder to watch. I think you have to concentrate more, and they're always darker and grittier. So, like I say, I have to be in the right mood for a Colin story. Haven't watched this one for a while, but I actually quite enjoyed it on this watch. So I must have been in the right mood, because I'm sure I've put it on before and not really enjoyed it that much. But watching it again yesterday, I have got a few issues with it, but I do actually quite like it. I agree with you, Scott. I enjoyed episode 1 an awful lot, actually.
Yeah.
I thought episode 1 was a lot stronger than I remembered. I thought it was really good. But I do think there are some issues with it. It's funny because it picks up straight after the Twin Dilemma, but actually there was quite a gap, wasn't there? Twin Dilemma aired in like March 1984, and then this one aired in January 2005. So there was quite a wait.
2005?
Not 2005,
Crikey.
1985. 1985.
I know we're a bit timey-wimey sometimes, but
Yeah.
blimey.
Ooh, I've lost it. Yeah, January 1985. So yeah, they had a just under a year to wait to see this new Doctor. So it's quite interesting that they're still talking about events from Twin Dilemma in it, like his regeneration and stuff, just as if it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And also, I noticed those awful monitors that were in the Twin Dilemma are in this.
They're back.
They're back. They've removed the little Ziggy Stardust stripe from them, and they've just shoved them in a corner. And so, yeah, I know what you mean about the sets, but no, actually, I do think the story is quite good. There is a bit of what I suppose you might call fan service. They do throw a lot of things in there, like the Totter's Yard and all that, which serves no purpose at all. It just seems to be there just for the sake of saying, "Oh, look, we're back at Totter's Yard." Scrapyard is Totter's Yard, isn't it? Or Totter's Lane? Sorry,
Totter's Lane. Yeah.
Totter's Lane. Yeah. Yes, Scrapyard. So yeah, there's things like that which I just don't get as well. But overall, yeah, I thought it did have a good dark atmosphere to it. And I did overall quite enjoy it, actually. Yeah.
It's good. Let's talk about some story and direction and stuff then. Story-wise, like we said, it's a pretty strong story, especially episode 1.
Yeah, very good.
And I like the fact that we don't get the Cybermen shoved in your face early on, which is good, because we see, obviously, somebody getting killed in the sewer system quite early on, but, it is a Cyberman that's killed that person. We see like the Cyberman's point of view, like that electronic green hue over the screen and stuff, and you see the guy screaming. So we know it's a Cyberman, hence the name of the story, but we don't explicitly see all that stuff. It's sort of left to our imagination in our minds to make up how the Cyberman killed that guy.
It's quite good actually seeing it lurking in the sewer, isn't it? That's what I liked about this. In the first episode, they are kind of the Cyberman's actually is he dirty or is he? I don't know. He looks dark. The Cyberman. It's like a sewer Cyberman, isn't it? He's not like shiny silver like the rest.
Well, they're in like they're almost black, very dark grey suits. They're called the Cyber Scouts.
I liked that. I thought that was good, and you just sort of see him creeping around in the shadows, and you can just about make out the shape of the head and that. So you think, yes, Cyberman. But it is great when they finally do that wall sort of pulls back and they're there, and they finally sort of burst through. I thought, yeah, like we were saying with the Crotons the other week, how I said they sort of show little bits of them, and you almost feel like it's going to be a big reveal, and then that never happens. I thought this did it right. You sort of see them lurking in the shadows, and then there is a big reveal, like this door opens up and there they are, full force, like it's pretty damn scary as well. So yeah, I thought they got that right in terms of keeping the Cybermen scary, and they are scary in this.
They are quite.
They really are. Yeah. I like the 80s Cybermen in terms of the look and everything. I think they are proper. I wouldn't mess with them. I mean, I'd be pretty terrified if I was bumped into one the next time I'm in a sewer.
Yeah, it's cool. They've still retained that sort of classic look. They haven't been transmogrified into the Iron Man-esque Cybermen that we see today. But I'm
not totally sold on the Cyber Leader's big egg head, though. Not sure about that, because I know they're trying to do. I know they're trying to do the cyber controller. I mean, don't know, not Cyber Leader, Cyber Controller. Yeah. I know they're trying to do the sort of Tomb of the Cybermen big bulbous head thing, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's all right. It makes him stand out. Let's put it that way. And he also looks like he's eaten a few pies.
Yeah. To me, he just looked like he'd bonked his head. And he's got a swollen sort of. He's like
one of those cartoons they used to get. Yeah.
Like he bumped his head coming through the doorway. He's like, "Oh crikey, that's going to leave a bump in the morning." And he woke up. He's got this huge dome head. And when you touch it, it's like, "Oh, don't." Still sore. But yeah, the Cybermen overall, I would say they're very, very good in this. They've got that scary element to them, which is good. And it's also sort of intertwined with this other story that we see right from the off with those guys who look like they're planning a bank robbery or something.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like they're doing. They're planning a robbery because he's asking the main guy, if you like, what's his name, Lytton, he's asking them to get hold of explosives and stuff like that. But it's all sort of part of a bigger master plan, isn't it? Because he's one of the people from Telos, isn't he? And he's somehow got himself to Earth, and he knows that he knows that the Cybermen. He's aware of their base on the moon, isn't he? On the dark side of the moon. He
seems to know a lot.
Yes, and so he knows that they're there underground, and he wants to get in there and sabotage and all the rest of it. But so that's quite an interesting thing. You don't know that up front. You think it's just a bunch of criminals who are, getting themselves into trouble unknowingly. But turns out it's a bit of a bigger plan.
Yeah,
which unfolds more in episode 2, which is good. And then we also, so it has got that classic element where there's a couple of sort of different storylines running through, and they all sort of culminate towards the end, which is good. And sort of direction-wise, it was sort of on point for what it was. I thought is the best way I can describe it. It didn't do anything crazy, but it wasn't necessarily too boring or anything. It was just what it needed to be. It wasn't anything nuts, but.
It's all right, yeah, because it's Matthew Robinson, the director, and he did Resurrection of the Daleks, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Which also had Lytton in it, and also had these sort of slightly robotized policemen in it as well. So there's a sort of bit of continuity going on there. I think, I much prefer his direction in Resurrection. I have to say, I don't know why there are bits in this where I feel it could have been better, but he still does a pretty decent job. As I said, he does make the Cybermen very creepy and scary when they're on screen, and he does shoot them well. But then there are other times when I think it's quite poorly shot.
Mm-hmm.
One of the scenes I really dislike in this story is there's a shot where Russell, I think it is shooting a Cyberman in the face.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because there is a lot of gratuitous violence in this, which I don't like. But that scene in particular always stands out to me. I don't know why we needed to see this close-up shot of it being shot point blank in the face. It really, to me, feels A, badly shot, and B, very gratuitous. Like, why do we get it? He's shooting Cyberman. Do we really need to see it point blank range like that? But things like that, I think Matthew Robertson could have perhaps directed better, because I just particularly dislike that scene. I think it's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few bits in this which are pushing the boundaries back then, I thought.
Well, let's talk about some of that stuff then, because it's quite interesting, the violence in the Colin Baker era. It all started, didn't it, in the Twin Dilemma, where there was a big uproar about him grabbing Perry round the throat, and he's about to strangle her and so on. It all sort of started from there, didn't it? And then we had the him sort of, if you listen to anyone that hasn't seen it properly, he picks up a couple of guys by their heads and tosses them into a vat of acid and stuff. It's not really the case, but it all sort of stems from there. And then in this one, like you say, that close-up shot of that Cyberman getting shot in the face,
it just feels very gratuitous to me, that particular scene. I don't know why we need to see it so point blank vivid like that. I mean, just quickly going back to Colin's Doctor, because you're saying about the violence there, he's very much the action Doctor in this, which I quite like. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't. There's a bit where he jumps down the manhole, and you can hear this sort of scrap going on down there, where him and the other man are clearly having a punch up, but you don't see it on screen, but you hear it.
Yeah.
And then he pops up with the policeman helmet on his head, which kind of makes it a really nice little scene, I thought. But I was sat there thinking, this, I can't imagine Peter Davison's Doctor going down there and having a fight.
Oh, no.
So, we've got a very different Doctor with Colin doing that. And I quite liked that bit. I thought that was because it sort of had a bit of humour to it. Mm-hmm. But then later on, particularly the ending, turns into a blimmin' bloodbath, doesn't it? We've got what is it? Needle being shoved in the Cyberman's arm and all this stuff splurting out. We've got Cybermen being decapitated.
Yeah.
We've got the Doctor shooting them, dead. He is very much the violent Doctor.
Yeah.
But most of I have to be honest, most of the violence I have an issue with in this story aren't to do with the Doctor, because I actually really thought he was good in this, Colin. I like the fact that he was getting stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, this is a tougher Doctor. I mean, William Hartnell's Doctor bashes someone on the head with a skull, I think, in the the very first serial, An Earthly Child. So, the Doctor's always had this element. So I don't really have a problem with too much of the Doctor's violence in this. But I do find some of the other stuff a bit gratuitous. Like, the Cybermen really take a pummeling in this. Like the bits where the heads are being bashed off. And obviously there's the scene with Lytton's hands being crushed and all the blood pouring out. I do find the violence over the top in this. Personally, I'm of a generation where stuff like that was just pretty shocking, and I'm surprised that some of it went through back then. Nowadays, kids will be listening to this podcast who will just think I'm just a boring old git, and they'll be saying they probably love it, and I don't really think that's a good thing. I do think we've become very blasé to this type of violence, and I bet there's a younger audience that watch this that just think absolutely nothing of it. But when I was a kid growing up back then, I remember disliking it back when this aired, and I still dislike it now. I still think it's just unnecessary in places, I think. And that's the problem I have with Colin's era, is that it's a bit too dark and gritty for my liking. I love, it's much better when we see stuff in the shadows, like you said about episode 1. It's brilliantly done. We don't sort of see. There's a fantastic scene where the Cyberman appears in front of someone's face, and the guy turns around and screams, and it's proper horror. But it's done in a split second and it's gone, and that's the way it should be. So I don't like it when we explicitly see things like Cybermen being shot point blank in the face and hands being crushed and stuff's, heads flying across the screen. So I find it just a little bit too far, for me personally anyway. But it does add a grittiness to the story. I do think some of it was great, but I do think there's quite a lot in this particular story that I was just a bit like, not sure about that. Now, I remember thinking at the time, just thought, this was the start of Colin's quite dark and violent, era of Doctor Who.
Well, then you make some good points, mate. He's definitely one of the darker Doctors in terms of not being afraid to put some violence out there, which they haven't really done this gratuitously previously on the show. We've had the odd little bit, like you say, but they're not afraid to put it in your face. I mean, we were talking about the close-up shot when the Cyberman gets, shot in the face. It really is a close-up shot. And what they didn't have to do that for sure, because a few seconds before that, we see him, as that guy falls to the floor, he shoots the Cyberman, and that should be it. But then he sort of advances on him and shoots him a couple more times at point blank range and stuff.
It feels crude, doesn't it?
Almost,
that bit. It feels very crude, that scene to me.
And then at the end, like you say, when Lytton's sort of shackled up and he's in that process of being converted, but he's still got his sort of mind about him. He stabs the Cyberman, doesn't he, with the needle thing, and then the Doctor's sort of commando rolling around with one of the Cybermen guns, and he's blowing them to pieces. And when you say it like that, it doesn't sound like a Doctor Who show, because immediately, because we've had Davison, who was much more of a civilized. It's a bit like an Obi-Wan character, and a much more civilized sort of hero from a more civilized age, sort of thing. This is very unusual. This is very. The Doctor should be doing this. He doesn't use guns. He never uses guns. But there's a scene earlier on in the story as well. I think it's near the end of episode 1 where they're hiding in the tunnels, and one of the cyber scouts is, coming up the tunnel where they are, and he's got that sonic lance, and he spins round and stabs it into the Cyberman's chest, and then he sort of explodes and lands on the floor. So I'm totally with you, mate. It definitely feels a bit more forced, like they're trying to make a bit of a point, like this is a new era of Doctor Who and we're going to be doing it this way. So, if you haven't seen much violence, you better get used to it, because this is how, this era of Doctor Who is going to be from now on.
It's certainly a lot more in your face, isn't it? Certainly than I remember. It's like the scenes on Telos with the Cybermen, where, there's one where one's creeping up behind the sand, and then all of a sudden he's getting his head whacked off across because I remember in the 5 Doctors we get a little bit of that. We get like the Cybermen being sick and arms blowing off, and that was quite violent as well. But something about the Colin Baker era, it feels, as I said, a bit crude at times, the violence. I think that's what it is. It's handled in a very clumsy way a lot of the time, I find. Because, you can have violence on screen, but I think there are ways of doing it which are better than just shoving it right in your face and it being there, I know a lot of people love that. A lot of people love all the killings and violence nowadays. But, yeah, for me personally, it was just a bit too much sometimes.
Very true. So yeah, I mean, sort of story overall, it's got some strong points. It's definitely got some violent points, but not a bad Cyberman story overall. With episode 1 definitely being stronger.
For a Cyberman story, actually, it's good. As I said, I really quite enjoyed watching this. Despite what I've just said, I actually did quite enjoy the story. I love the fact that we're going back to Telos and all that sort of stuff. And the Doctor gives a bit of a recap of. I love that bit actually when the Doctor looks quite shifty. When they say, why are they why are they on Telos? What happened to Mondas? He's like, sort of looking at the floor. Mondas, let me think. So that was quite funny. But there is some great stuff going on in this. Don't get me wrong. I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Let's talk about some characters then. Let's talk a bit more about the Cybermen. So we have the Cyber Controller, then we have the regular Cybermen, and then the Cyber Scouts. I thought this was a really good mix of.
Yeah,
because there wasn't when we've seen the Cybermen when they've brought them back in newer Doctor Who, there's thousands of them. There's always like literally thousands of Cybermen, and it's almost like they've really encapsulated the proper invasion thing where there's just so many of them. In this story, it's cool because there's only a handful.
Yeah,
and it's just those guys sort of running the show from their cool little underground base. With all the blinking lights that do absolutely nothing, all that stuff. And I quite like it. And the interaction between them is good as well. The Cyber Controller's obviously got a bit of authority with the big lump on his head. And the other ones doing their best to sort of hunt down the Doctor and so on. And I thought they were written very well. Like they're very calculated, very, stuck to the mission, know what they've got to do. And there's almost that little, because they don't have emotion, you can almost see though the little bit of glee in the Cyber Controller's face when Lytton tells them that the other alien who's sort of interrupting their mission is the Doctor. You can almost see, even though they're emotionless, you can see the Cyber Controller like, yes, this is our opportunity to crush the Doctor. You can see it in the person who's playing, that Cyberman. You can see his body language. He's like, I've got you now, sort of thing. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, as a Cyberman story, it is good actually. Like you just said, I love the fact we get different fractions of Cybermen. So we've got the Cyber Controller, the Cyber Leader, just the regular Cybermen. We've got the Cyber Scouts in the sewers, and also just to top it all, we've got all the Cybermen that are kind of going a bit wrong. They've been frozen for a bit too long or whatever, and they're all a bit, when they break out, they're all a bit deranged.
Bit
so
balmy.
You've got them, a bit balmy. So yeah, it's not just like in the modern series where you just get this barrage of 1,000 Cybermen that have absolutely no personality. They are just a silver tin pot. In this one, I mean, that's something we've lost a bit, really, isn't it, when you think about it? Because in this, you've just hit the nail on the head. They've almost got a personality. So you've got the Cyber Controller, you've got the Cyber Leader. You feel like there's a connect. There's characters there, even though they're just a Cyberman. There is a character there, which we don't really get in the new series, do we? We don't, there's no sort of cyber. I think there was a Cyber Leader, wasn't there, in one of the Christmas specials or something? But you don't get a personality like you do back with these Cybermen. I think that's why I like them, because, like you just said, you know that there's a bit of glee going on there. That the Doctor, we know him, right? So let's sort him out while we're at it, and all that sort of stuff. So I like the Cybermen in this.
They are, they're cracking. Good. What about the two guys on Telos? Very, very angry. One of them.
They should have been toned down. Yeah,
he did not have his cup of tea that morning, did he?
No,
he was very, very angry at everything.
I felt he was way over the top. Actually, it's a shame because they could have been better. They could have been really good characters. Because to be honest with you, when he dies, that guy who keeps shouting all the time, I was almost a bit glad, which I'm ashamed to say, but I was like, he kind of deserved it. Just Yeah, but no, I thought they were interesting characters, but they didn't perform particularly well. I thought the guy was the director again should have said to him, right, that's great. We can tell you're angry. Have you heard of David Collins, by the way? But because he does a great School of Acting, but could you just tone it down a notch? And he would have been great because he's got the right look and everything for that character.
Yeah.
But he's just a bit too shouty. I mean, he's really going for it, isn't he?
I agree.
He's really going for it. He just needed to tone it down a little bit.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge. Yeah.
Like you say, interesting characters could have, they are quite, it was quite a good reveal actually when Lytton and what is the other guy? Is it Griffiths, played by Brian Glover? The
bald guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They end up on Telos, don't they? And they capture him and they start, checking him for weapons and stuff. And they sort of surprisingly say, he's flesh and blood. And Griffiths is like, what's going on? And then he sort of takes his sleeve off and his glove and he's got a cyber arm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that was quite a good reveal to see that they were sort of part converted. So they still had their mind and they still wanted to rebel and escape and everything, but they were, they'd been experimented on already. So that was quite good. But yeah, like you say, just a wee bit too angry. Even at his mate, his mate's doing him a favour. He's like, I don't need to get caught up in this, but he's still yelling at him every 2 seconds but quite good though. Quite. Again, the action was quite good. If a little bit OTT and times, it was still good. A lot of decapitations going on still.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a good. I was gonna say it's a good action piece. That I quite like that. There is a good shot of like a point of view shot of him running down towards the Cyberman, and when he's just about to knock his head off. I thought it's quite well shot, that thing. It's just the performance I just felt was a bit over the top from the main actor. I don't know what his name was, that guy, but he was just a bit too over the top. Yeah
and it was filmed in a good old-fashioned quarry as well.
Of course, yes.
You can't have classic Who without a quarry.
Yeah, it looks all right actually, doesn't it? It looks quite good as quarries go. It does the job. I think they've put a few little pipes and things just to make it look a bit alien, but a bit of smoke. Weirdly enough, I didn't notice it, but I did read it on the production subtitles. They said if you listened in the background, they've tried to drown out with music, but you can still hear the birds singing on every scene. So they said that really annoyed them apparently when they're filming it, because it was almost as if the birds were just going off on a tangent, and they are. You can actually, as soon as you point it out, you're like, oh yeah,
I've not noticed that.
Yeah, well, you won't do, but if you do listen to it, you think, oh, right, I can hear it. But they have done their best to drown them out with the music. Should we just quickly talk about the music, because it is quite prominent, isn't it? Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it really adds to the drama. And other times it's just a bit too much.
It does. It does peak, and it has. Yeah. I must admit, there were a couple of times where I thought, this is, they really want to make the most of the music. But at other times, like you say, it was quite fitting and it did work. It's quite cool. But there is that odd moment, though, like you say, where it's just quite loud and...
Some of it's like, very loud.
Yeah. You're like, whoa, we get it,
It's weird, actually, because sometimes the music really adds to the scene. And then other times it almost takes you out of it. It does really vary in this. It's almost as if who was the composer? Malcolm Clark. Yeah, it's almost as if he was really excited. He got a new keyboard that had a pitch bend on the end of it. It's like, because he really uses it. He obviously really likes that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay, but it does sometimes just. It is a bit jarring now and again.
Yeah, but that's that's not unique to this story. We've seen that lots of times with Who soundtracks. Yeah, even Murray Gold soundtracks sometimes can be a bit of an assault on the ears, and you can't hear what they're saying at times and all that. So
that's true.
Just trademark Doctor Who music, I guess. Let's talk about the guys then. The gang that Lytton gets together.
Yeah.
So Lytton, Griffiths, Russell, and I think the other guy's named Stratton. Or
is he the one that gets killed off pretty quick?
Yeah, so the two of them end up towards, right through the story, don't they? End up, pretty much into episode 2, which is Lytton and Griffiths, the bald guy.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure I've seen in some comedy program years ago.
He used to be in loads of stuff back in the Brian Glover.
Yeah,
he's one of those actors used to pop up in everything.
Yeah. So those guys, they were, with the exception of Lytton, I didn't really buy into them too much. They seemed very generic, like, we need a couple of thugs, so let's bring these guys in and get them killed off early. Griffiths, I thought he was okay. There was a couple of minutes, a couple of funny moments where he imitates the Cybermen speaking, and then they sort of put their fists on his head and give him a headache.
Quite fun. Yeah,
it's quite cool. And he had a couple of. He sort of never let up with that very fearful what the hell's going on thing, which is quite funny at times. And then Lytton, felt really sorry for him at the end.
Well, I didn't. You. I never really get. I mean, Lytton's still a bad person. I never get why the Doctor's so full of remorse at the end. I mean, yes, it does turn out that he's working for the Cryons, not the Cybermen.
Yeah.
Although I still don't understand that. Like, when did he meet the Cryons?
Well, that must have. Because it turns out.
When did they set that up?
Well, yeah, they weren't extinct after all, were they? They weren't wiped away from Mondas. And they were.
How did he go from the end of walking off at the end of Resurrection to anyway?
I don't know.
But Griffiths adds a bit of humour to it, so I quite like him for that. I mean, Brian Glover often played that same sort of part. And there is some good interaction between him and Lytton, isn't there? I mean, it is good to see Lytton back. I have to say, it's quite nice to bring his story full circle because, the last time we see him in Resurrection, he does just wander off, doesn't he?
Yes.
He's like one of the few to actually survive another bloodbath.
Yeah.
So it's quite good to see him back. And Maurice Colburn is the actor.
That's right.
I think he does a good job. I quite like him because he's shady. You're never quite sure if he's good or bad. As it turns out, he's sort of in the middle because he's still a bit of a crook, isn't he?
A little bit, yeah.
Because the Doctor's last line is something like, "Oh, I've totally misjudged him." And I was thinking, well, yes and no.
It's kind of the way I see it with Lytton's character. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He's doing some of the wrong things, but for the right reasons for him, and for
okay.
That's sort of the way that I justify my liking for him. But I did feel sorry for him at the end because it does look bloody painful. Being tied up and having, being converted into Cybermen slowly and painfully.
Yeah.
And he does kind of come good at the end. He sort of saves the Doctor, doesn't he? He enables the Doctor to do his army roles and steal the Cyberman laser gun thing.
Yeah.
And all that. So he does kind of come good, but he does, it's difficult. He is sort of a bad guy overall, isn't he?
He's a good character, though, isn't he? I like the
though.
character of Lytton, and I like the actor. I think he plays him really well.
Yeah, no, it's good. And like we said, the other two guys, they get killed off relatively quickly.
Well, what about old Terry Malloy as Russell? We're seeing Terry as playing Davros, so it's do you know I'd completely forgotten he was in it.
Me too.
It's really strange because he pops up on screen in episode 1. I'm thinking, I know that face. Where do I know that face? And of course it comes up as the credits. Oh, of course it's Terry Malloy. It's Davros. But out of playing a human.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to see Terry in the show, not as Davros, just so we actually get to see him as a person. He does the part okay, doesn't he? He's not
too bad.
He does the job. He does a good death scene when he gets shot. Why does Perry in that scene though, which is great, well, apart from the Cybermen shooting, but there is something scary about having the Cybermen in the TARDIS. I thought, wow, we don't see that very often. But why does Perry look like she's about to burst out laughing in the cliffhanger? She's like, kill her at once. And they did this zoom in on her. And she looks like she's just, I can't say the word because it's a swear word, but she looks like she's laughing. What word can I use? She's laughing a lot. She looks like she's about to.
She's cracking
herself.
up.
Yeah, she's cracking up.
I
take away a bit of the drama. It's not just me that thinks that, is it?
Well, I didn't see it that way.
Oh, well, next time you watch it, just look at her face. She's like going. She's like a hamster. She's like,
I know what scene you mean. I thought she was just. I thought that was her extremely scared, about to be murdered face. But if you saw it as a laughing face, then.
Well, it did. She didn't look scared to me. I don't know. Okay. But maybe she was. Yeah, maybe she was trying very hard to look scared. But
this is cool. Then let's just before we get on to Perry and the Doctor, let's quickly talk about the Cryons then, because they,
oh yes,
carrier bag head. They look pretty weird. Some of their eyepieces were like prescription lenses, so it made their eyes look huge, and they just looked like they were a bunch of people who hadn't been to Specsavers, because they were sort of. They almost like
to Specsavers.
It's almost like they hired like ballet dancers, or because they always like they got these long fingers, haven't they? And they, whenever they're moving around, they sort of glide and waft around.
Yeah,
and I can't really jump on board with these guys. I've seen this story maybe. I think it's potentially the third or fourth time I've watched it since I've owned it on DVD, and I always think that I just can't buy into them as characters. I don't know why. They just played very pantomime-y and very I don't know. I just can't buy into them. So they're there to sabotage the Cybermen, aren't they? They're there to claim back their planet with the help of Lytton, and eventually with the Doctor as he gets sort of drawn into it all. But yeah, just the way they speak, and the costumes are not bad, but they're not too bad. They're a bit weird, but yeah, I don't know. They just don't. What do you think to these?
Well, they remind me of something that would have appeared in a 60s Doctor Who. Like I can totally imagine them in black and white in a Hartnell episode or a Troughton episode.
Okay,
because that's what they look like to me. They look like a 60s Doctor Who costume. So yeah, they don't work for me at all. I love the idea of the heating up of the whatever it is, and it's a good way of blowing everything up. So I like that idea, especially with the Cybermen being frozen and all that. That works well. But yeah, they don't work for me at all. In terms of the look and the way they're, like you said, they're very theatrical, which again reminds me of 60s Who. Very theatrical. So yeah, I agree with you. I just find them a bit. I think I forget they're in it. So when they did come into episode 2, I think that's why I like episode 1 better.
Absolutely.
Because again, they take me out of it a bit. I'm like, oh, those guys, these rubbish things again.
Yeah.
I forgot about them. Yeah. So not overly impressed with them.
No, Richard, that's exactly the same thought as I had. When I watched episode 1, it's such a good first half. And then in episode 2, when you see them, you're like, oh, I forgot that they were in it. Oh, they were in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so not amazing, but let's talk about Perry. Nicola Bryant, bless her. I say this every time. She's just not she's not a great actress, is she? Let's be honest.
She.
Oh crikey! She's always doing this thing where she's sort of pacing, behind the Doctor all the time. She's always got like a couple of meters distance behind him as he's sort of whizzing around doing his thing. She's constantly behind him, like, Doctor, are you sure?
Yeah.
And she does this thing where she stutters her lines all the time because she's got, and when she's about to be murdered by the Cybermen and the Doctor's got the countdown clock going in the TARDIS, he's like, I think we should discuss this. And she's like, I agree. She's constantly doing that, and
she irritated me a lot in this.
She does irritate.
Episode, actually. She's better in some than others, but she's not one of my favourite companions at all. Like you just said, I just find her so whiny, and she never gets anything to do particularly.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of Perry, to be honest with you.
There are a couple of stories though where she does get a very hard time off Colin. She really gets almost bullied by him. He's very, very picky with her at times, and almost like he's got no time for her. Like, why is this person following me around?
I often think, why is she there?
Why does she?
I often think that. Yeah.
But on the flip side, though, in stories like this, she is very whiny, and she's very, and you can kind of tell why he's like it at time, because he's like, I don't need this. This is what marriage is like. I don't need this.
I'm sure she's stronger in Case Vandrazani. I think that's the only story where she doesn't annoy me. I haven't watched Planet of Fire for years, so I can't remember. But I'm sure she's not like this with Peter's Doctor. So I
not
don't
as
know if
much,
it's just
no.
I don't know if it's just down to the writing as much as her performance. But yeah, particularly this story, I was just like, oh, Perry, shut up! I was getting really annoyed. She's just too whiny. Yeah, and the acting not great.
Not great. Old 60 then, Colin Baker.
Colin,
his first proper story in this first proper series.
Yes.
No, not his first proper story, but his first proper series.
Yeah.
Off to a pretty good start, do you reckon?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And better than I remember, because I always thought Colin took a while to settle into his Doctor, but actually he's really good in this. I really liked him. Yeah, I thought he was grabbing it with both horns actually and going for it. But he wasn't, although he has the odd scene. I think there's one at the start that made me think of you, where he's like unstable or something. He's
That's
really
right.
like shouting. Yeah. I thought, oh, Gary would be laughing at this bit.
I did laugh.
Apart from that early scene, I thought he was pretty good actually. He didn't go quite as over the top as he sometimes does later on. So yeah, likes Colin in this one.
Yeah, he sort of got that over the topness out the way.
Yeah.
Got it out the way early, you know, when he's trying to repair the chameleon circuit and, you know, Perry's nagging at him.
Yeah.
And he turns, like you say, unstable.
Unstable.
Does his classic double word irritation. But we sort of got those early scenes out the way. And then, he's sort of flying with it after that. He doesn't slow down too much, I find, which is good. He's constantly doing something. He's constantly going, you know, is an action scene, or he's, you know, arguing with somebody, or he's trying to escape, or he's, you know, so
having a punch up.
Yeah. So I quite like him in this. I really, you know, we're taking away like what we mentioned earlier about some of the violence and the darker side of things. I think he does have he gives us a good performance as the Doctor in this one.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Versus some of the other stories where he can be a wee bit, just not as strong, I would say, is in his performance, just a bit different and, you know, held back a bit more annoying.
Yeah. I do think a lot of that is down to the relationship with Perry, though. I think quite a lot of the time the two of them were just given scripts where they were bickering and shouting at each other. And like you said, we get a bit of that in this, but not too much, thankfully. So it's more the Doctor being in control. And he gets some good action scenes in it as well. So I kind of, he's definitely a much, when I say stronger Doctor, I prefer Peter Davison, but he's stronger in terms of his, he's a bolder Doctor.
Yes.
He's definitely, you know, not afraid to get stuck in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything you want to mention before we get on to scores?
Not really. Well, there is one other thing I want to ask you before we get on to scores. But the only other thing I've underlined was I know the budget was tight with Doctor Who, but could they not have made a bit more effort with the Totter's Totter's Lane sign? It's just a bit of old. They may as well have stuck a cardboard sign at there, because this, you know, like in Remembrance we get the nice painted gate. Yes, they spelt the word Totter's wrong, but you know, at least it's a nice visual. But in this, they've just kind of shoved a slate board up on the wall. This is Totter's Lane, by the way, and it feels really half-hearted to me. I almost wish they hadn't bothered.
Yeah, it's not.
Do you think that though? They sort of walk up and you just see this sign stuck to the wall.
Yeah, the budget was
like,
pretty minimum for that
maybe
location.
They have to pay for all the different TARDISes, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, part of it. You can't have a decent budget for every location and every set that you do. So
I suppose they don't spend long there, do they?
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, the thing I wanted to ask you was, because obviously this was one of the first ones you reviewed when you started the podcast on your own. Has your opinion changed? Because I listened to your review back then, but it obviously was a couple of years ago now. Can you believe that? A couple of years.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what you said about this at the time, but has your opinion changed?
Neither can I. I can't remember either.
Right.
I don't think it's changed too much, no.
Right.
I think I've just got a bit more of a healthier respect for Colin Baker's Doctor in this story.
Yeah.
And more sort of enjoyment at the Cybermen, really. But overall, I think it's fairly consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I think it's me to go first.
Yes, you first this week.
I'm going to give this a 7.
Oh, right. I thought you'd go higher. I'm giving it just a fraction higher. I'm giving it 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I toyed with an 8, but it just it lost it in the second part for me. I think if part 2 had been as strong as part 1, it would have been an 8, but it loses it slightly. So yeah, 7.5.
Okay, reasonable score. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did our lovely listeners think? Let's do an audio clip first. This is Owen Daly.
Hello, Gary and Adam. Hope you're both well and enjoying the show this week. So, the series opener of Series 22, or Season 22, or whatever they called it in the classic era, let's just say the 1985 series. Some people claim this should have been the Sixth Doctor's first story because most people seem to really strongly dislike the Twin Dilemma, which I got to disagree with because I love Colin Baker's performance in that story. I don't know why he gets so much crap for that episode. He strangled Perry. Character development, I say, but we're not going to talk about Twin Dilemma because that was ages ago that you reviewed that. So one thing I love about the story was these stealth Cybermen, these black, lovely Cybermen. I just think they look so sinister, and how they lurk around the sewers is just fantastic, and it's an idea I'd love to see revived for the new series as long as they don't ruin it. One thing that I noticed in the story was there was a lot of gore and blood. Well, not a lot, but there was a bit of blood in the story, which at the time must have been seen as kind of bad, but looking back on it now, I kind of really like that because it shows a bit more maturity in the show, but that didn't get very far as it was nearly axed the next year. The Web of Time was introduced in the story, which is a new formulation of the rule that we're not allowed to change the course of history, I think, and that was kind of brought back up again in Hellbent, saying that the hybrid is going to unravel the course, the Web of Time, which I really liked. And before I leave quickly, I need to say Totter's Lane. They brought it back, which was lovely, but they spelt it wrong. They spelled Totter's Lane wrong. So overall, I really do like the story. It's good to get people into the Sixth Doctor, and I give it a 7 out of 10. Thanks for listening, and bye.
7.
Excellent, yeah, good. Totter's Lane, Totter's Yard are getting it all wrong today. If only they'd had Google back in 1985.
If only, eh?
They could have just quickly Googled it.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yep. We're going to continue the audio stuff. This is, I think this is the first time we've had an audio clip from this listener. It's Reese Marshall.
Hey Adam, Gary, hope all is going well. For me, Attack of Cybermen is a real start to the Colin Baker era, as opposed to Twin Dilemma. It's great to start the Doctor and Page relationship blossom into the dynamic we've come to love. The Cybermen are pretty good in this story, but I felt there was too many sort of leaders with shouty heads. What worked great when in Earthshock was that we had sort of one clear leader. For me in this, there was too many sort of leaders and shouty heads. I found the Crons to be fairly annoying at times. Their voices gave me the same feeling of a chalkboard being scratched down. Lytton was one of my favourite aspects and characters of the story. It was horrid to watch his torture scene, but it was great to have redemption for his character at the end of the story. Overall, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a fairly solid story. Have a good rest of your week.
Cheers, Reese.
Thank you, Reese. Yeah, some good points there.
Some very good points indeed.
I know what it means about the Cybermen. I think it's the original. It's the same actor, isn't it? The Cyber Controller with a big head. It's Michael Kilgareth, I think.
Oh,
same
yes,
guy.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. Over on Twitter, Isaac Dakin says, favourite Doctor Who story?
Is it?
Yes. Mike Yates on Twitter says, a bit gruesome in places, but I liked it. Anything showing people being converted is good in my view. Biomech Designs says, my favourite Sixth Doctor story. I love how it links 10th Planet and Tomb, although different cyber factions.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who FAA says, best lines is the TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things, not unlike myself.
Yes, that is a great line.
Which is a cracking line, isn't it? From that always made me chuckle, that did. Is it very full of himself at times, that Doctor. Right, third audio clip. This is Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Gary and Adam from the Big Blue Box podcast. So, it's Attack of the Cybermen. I get that and Revenge mixed up. Attack of the Cybermen. The story where the Sixth Doctor gets the comedian circuit fixed. I really enjoy this one, actually. I find it's one of Six's best, although in part 2 it does seem to get a bit slow, but I can forgive that. Although I do think the Cybermen are good. I think the whole first bit is good when they're in the underground and they're sorting out the comedian circuit. I just find it really fun. I think Perry's actually decent in this one, which is a surprise. There isn't really a lot to go into detail with. I mean, the Cybermen are probably, this is one of their better stories in the classic years, because there are some that are bad. The Tom Baker one, that's awful. Sorry, got a bit of a cough there, and also that was a really bad fake cough. Take 2. No, I'm joking. But honestly, yeah, I'll probably give this one an 8 out of 10. I think it's really good. Hopefully, hopefully this one gets a lot more viewing. Because I think the Sixth Doctor is highly underrated. But I'll see you guys next week anyway. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Alex.
Nice one, Alex. Thank you very much, as usual. Right, over on Facebook, Charlie Turner says, out of all the Sixth Doctor stories I've seen so far, this has got to be the best one by far. So it's a pretty good story. Particularly love the line from Colin Baker where he goes, a rather angry one.
Oh, yes.
Which is quite fierce. Says, he laughs every single time at that. The Cryons, they didn't need to be in it, really. And they were written so terribly and the design was horrible. Wish they just didn't exist. But anyway, like I said before, the story is pretty good from start to finish. If you find the time, check out Mr. TARDIS reviews. It's one of my favourite reviews of all time. I'll give this story 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay, good.
Miles Mackenzie, Attack of the Cybermen is meh for me. I by no means don't like it, but it's not one of... I by no means don't like it, but it's not one I'd choose first. I like Colin's Doctor in this story as well as Perry. Cybermen are decent. The rest of the cast were good. But my one gripe is the Chameleon Circuit plot. I feel just wasn't needed. And it felt to me less iconic. I feel the TARDIS should always be a police box. I do feel there's some room for improvement, so a 5.5.
Oh, okay.
Sammy Satine says, so the Cybermen have decided to make Telos their new home, only to destroy it in an attempt to destroy Earth. Lytton, who used to work for the Daleks, now appears to be working for the Cybermen, but he's actually working for the natives of Telos, who appear to be weird, shiny aliens who melt at anything from freezing. It was nice to see Totter's Lane and the junkyard again, possibly the first time the Doctor bothers to repair the Chameleon Circuit. She says the story is okay. At least Six and Perry don't bicker too much. Interesting, though, Six says he won't hurt Perry when he clearly attempted to strangle her in the episode before this one. Colin is good. Nice to see the Sonic Lance. 5.5.
Yes, I like the Sonic Lance.
Yes. Lewis Palmer says, pretty good story, actually. TARDIS Chameleon Circuit gets fixed, which isn't something you should ever do, but it creates some nice comedy. Cybermen are fairly good. And that scene where the guy comes face to face with one in the sewers and just lets out a deafening scream is absolutely marvellous. The scene where Lytton gets his hands crushed, shocked and floored me when I first watched it. Incredibly lenient by the BBFC, giving it a U rating.
Is it a U rating? Blimey, it shouldn't be.
Seriously, that scene is horrific, and they say it's suitable for all ages. Still a great scene. On the downside, part 2 is not very memorable, despite a good ending, and the Cryons get annoying fast. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, cheers, Lewis. A good point about the rating. I totally agree with you.
My good friend, Mr. Nick Gill, says, was never a huge fan of Colin's Doctor, but the story was quite interesting. Very much a case of revisiting former themes. The junkyard, the cyber tombs, Lytton and his goons. The plot is a bit thin, but the visuals are pretty good. In fact, one of my earliest memories of this on TV is the scene where Stratton and Bates destroy a Cyberman and dress up Bates as a Cyberman on the surface of Telos. That was a memory that stuck with me until I got the chance to see it 10 years later. It's definitely one of the better Baker stories, second only to Revelation in my mind.
Yes, they are definitely one of Colin's better. Yeah.
Let's do our final audio clip. This is Loopy Loo.
Great to see some early 60. It's been a while for me. And Perry, wearing the most impractical shoes for running after the Doctor. You wouldn't catch Rose dead in a pair of them. A lot of fisticuffs. The Doctor beats up the policeman off screen and then later on beats up another policeman on screen. And of course the tussle with the Cyberman at the end. I thought it was a good story. Colin was brilliant. Really reminded me why I was so intrigued by his Doctor when I first saw him. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
7.
Cheers, Lou. She's got a point about Perry's costume. She's very much rivaling the Doctor for being... fluorescent, isn't she?
Indeed.
Yeah. Very bright, yeah.
Back on Facebook, Kevin Mullen says, literally a story of two halves. Attack of the Cybermen represents everything wrong with mid-80s Doctor Who. Part 1 is actually quite good, giving us a fairly good performance by Baker, and introduces us to a collection of characters who, by the time the story ends, have been either killed in a throwaway manner, so typical of Eric Sayward, or, in the case of Lytton, in a gruesome way, having his hands crushed in a display of blood the show didn't need to show. After all the setup, Part 2 collapses under the weight of continuity references, as the story hinges on plot points from a previous adventure shown only once some 18 years earlier. and it's obvious that John Nathan Turner, Saward, and Ian Levine as continually advise of more interesting ways to give fans what they think they want instead of making a show for the general public. Overall, 5 out of 10. 4 out of 10 for part 1 and 1 out of 10 for part 2.
Ooh.
Utterly tedious, he finishes with.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of what he said there, but yeah, I wouldn't go quite as far as the low scores, but yeah.
Jamie Ackley says, for me, an absolute classic. Loved it on transmission and it holds up impressively well today. Colin Baker is wonderful throughout. Loud, brash, bombastic, reflective, witty and pompous. A joy. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? Well, that's quite a contrast, isn't it? Yeah.
Joseph Howarth says, sorry for the double post to the review, but whatever, I'll continue. Sorry, let me go to his first part then, because he posted 2. He says, yet another Sixth Doctor story that I have to review. Here are my thoughts. Honestly, it's all right as a story. Attack of the Cybermen, it has 2 things I like and has some things I don't like. Things I do like are the stuff on Earth and the Cyber Scouts prowling about in the underground sewers. The Cyber Leader first appears in this story and he's flanked either side by 2 Cybermen. It's very well done as the base they have in the sewers, which I thought looked pretty good. The action is very fast-paced and nicely done, if not very questionable, with what the gore and violence showed us in the story. Cybermen, barring the Cyber Leader, sound ridiculous. The Cybermen controller was a joke and undermines the Cyber Leader's presence. Other than that, it's a token Cybermen story for me. There's nothing I haven't already seen. Goes on to say it's pretty much a sequel to Tomb of the Cybermen. It's all down to the 1985 budget at the time. I really do feel this story should have been set on Earth rather than Telos, in all honesty. So 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen a bit more between the Cyber Leader and the Cyber Controller, actually. A bit of a waste opportunity.
Lastly, on Facebook, Stan Gallagher says, I love Colin. I think this is one of his best. Great cast all round.
Yes.
So that was the official Facebook page. You had a few on the Geeks Handbag page, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Patrick Sherwood says, hi, Adam and Gary. So Attack of the Cybermen, what do I think of this story? Well, it's great. It's fun. It's witty. It's humorous. It's charming. And I love the story. It's one of my favourite stories of all time. The Sixth Doctor is great. I will give the story 10 out of 10, he says. He's very positive from Patrick there. Andy Escott Carrington says, Blue Peter, aliens and dodgy computer generated comet aside, there's something in this one that I love about the classic era. The idea that events could be happening in our reality just around the corner, or in this case under our very feet, is great. Enjoyed Attack as a child and still enjoy it today. He gives it an 8 out of 10. So high score there. Okay. Matt Vernon says, I love this one. It's my favourite of Colin's stories, and I think my favourite Cyberman story, full stop. It is a good Cyberman one. Mm-hmm. Stan Stacey Gallagher says, love the story, one of Colin's best. Another one thinks that.
Yep.
Jason Howells says, my favourite Sixth Doctor story has a great mix of story elements which enrich it beyond many. Love how it links 10th Planet to Tomb of the Cybermen. Cyber Controller is meant to be the same one team as Tomb. Same actor also. It's a shame the cyber history, which has been unofficially written in Cybermen book by David Banks, never got put into the story. Which would have explained the difference between the cyber origins. The twist of Lytton not being a bad guy in the story is beautifully done, as is the Doctor's reaction to it. And it's also nice to see Terry Malloy, aka Davros, and Brian Glover. So thank you, Jace.
Oh, nice
and finally, Hendrix Chaplin says, I watched it the other day and I still love this episode. It washes that bad taste of the twin dilemma and out of the classic era. It's not the level from Troughton stories, neither Earthshock, but it's 100 times better than Revenge of the Cybermen and Silver Nemesis.
Okay.
Colin Baker does a great performance, solid supporting characters, and great use of blood and violence with the Cybermen. The only problem I had was the music was a bit off at sometimes. He says it's a really overlooked story. Right. Thanks, Hendrix.
Okay.
Sorry if some of that didn't quite make sense. I think the old autocorrect sometimes gets in on the Facebook, so I'm just sort of reading it as it is. But yeah, we get the idea. So yeah, I think mostly positives. We had a couple of negatives, but
most of all, pretty good.
I felt it. Yeah, it's good. I felt with a couple of tweaks, it could have been better, but it was overall pretty good.
Yeah, as always with some classic Who. Right, what we're going to do next week?
Oh, next week. Well, look, we haven't dived into much of the 11th Doctor's. It's the 7th series, isn't it? We were looking at the list and we were like, the 7th series, we've hardly done any. So we better stop putting it off and do some. And we're going to be doing Dinosaurs on a Spaceship next week.
Oh, wow. This could be an interesting one to look at. We haven't done Matt Smith for a while, have we?
No, we haven't. No, and there's a big chunk of episodes from Series 7 that we have just been avoiding, so we need to start doing some. So, yeah, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship next week.
And I think we're going to do there for 116.
Okay.
Thank you very much for sticking with us and listening to episode 116. Thank you very much for sending in all your thoughts. We had quite a few this week.
We did. You had a massive response to this one, which was great.
Yeah, audio clips and messages and all that jazz, which is good. Next week, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. The 11th Doctor. I've not seen this one in a while. I know you haven't. For
I haven't
reasons.
watched it for ages, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, look forward to hearing your thoughts on that one. Look out for the Facebook post and Twitter and all that stuff. And head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all the previous episodes on there. Plus, you can link off to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Do a search for us on iTunes. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could give us a rating and a review, that would be awesome. Thank you very much. And also check out Adam's stuff. He has a channel on Facebook and YouTube called The Geek's Handbag. So remember to check out all that stuff too. Next week then, we might do our giveaway. We might do.
Oh, what have we got?
The competition where you have to tell us from which episodes where all the clips were from in our intro.
Oh, yeah.
So we might do that. Not sure. So you have to listen out on 117 to see if we'll be doing that. I know a couple of you have already told us what you think they are, and we've had a couple of people email in to say I was bored one afternoon, so I've worked out all the episodes where you grab the clips from. So I've kept those, don't worry. And I'll automatically put them in, even if you didn't want to. I'll stick them in there. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy this new world where we have Trump as president. I'm not sure if we're going to be here next week. Armageddon, the nuclear war could have broke out in that time, so we might not be anyway. Right, until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,
right,
there we go. Lonzy.